Hi, everyone. Have you ever wondered if the wind really makes a difference when you're running? Well, turns out that yes, it does make a difference. In this little tip today, I'll give you some practical tips to help you manage the wind, what to wear, some weather apps, and other advice. So the tip is, when you check the weather, also take a look at the wind direction and the wind speed, and then compare it with the course map. Will it be blowing into your face, at your side, or at your back? Today, I'm going to recommend some weather apps to help figure that out and give you a game plan for windy days with tangible advice that you can use to be confident. This will help you to be prepared so there are no surprises on race day. I'm Sally Head Dahlquist, host of the podcast Unstoppable Stories That Move. I'm a chronic globetrotting marathoner who has been consistently running outside in all kinds of windy weather for the last 25 years. My previous guests on the podcast, Tracy Roth and Dan Parker, were concerned about the wind. Tracy is a marathon runner from sunny California, and she was worried that it would be too windy in Antarctica and make her cold and miserable while running the marathon there. And Dan is a car drag racer. He's the fastest blind man on earth. And he said that because of the wind, if you want to set a world record, you have to drive the drag strip in both directions. Then they average your time to offset any effects of the wind. In car racing, you can really see the wind effect is aerodynamics, the body design of the car. But does this really matter for a small, non-aerodynamic human being out running? Yes, it does. And in some ways that may not be so obvious. It affects your speed. A headwind in your face makes you go slower. And a tailwind pushing on your back makes you go faster. That's about 1 second faster per every 1 mile per hour of wind. So if it's a 10 mile per hour wind, it might make you 10 seconds faster per mile. That's kind of awesome. The wind may also alter your perception of how much effort you're putting into your pace because you're used to just running and having the wind going in your face and blowing your hair around to help you figure out how fast you're going. And if the wind is in your face, you can't really tell how much of that is from running or how much is it from the wind. And if the wind is in your face, this might make you lose your form because you might put your head down or raise your hands to protect your eyes. And this affects your posture and your stride. You have to put more energy into running into the wind. You'll get tired sooner. This makes you want to eat more. Or really, you can be positive about this and consider it a more challenging workout to help you get stronger. Of course, when the wind is in your face, it makes you feel colder. I have different outfits for every 10 degrees Fahrenheit of temperature and when it's windy. Wind can blow dirt in your eyes or rain or snow. In dry places, the dust can just be a nightmare. And I really don't like the wind in my face, so I'm always blocking it out with a hat or a hoodie or glasses or even my ski goggles. I have different eye protection for wind and sun. Goggles, sunglasses, and clear safety glasses. And if you can't see well, you might trip. So you could get injured by the wind. And the wind can suck the moisture right out of you, causing sweat to evaporate faster. So drink more than usual, especially if you're in elevations over 5,000 feet or when it's hot. Do you obsess about the temperature and rain before a race? If so, you are normal. I do. But do you pay much attention to the wind? Well, once it gets above 8 to 10 miles per hour or is gusty, you should definitely take a closer look at it. Expand your game plan to include the wind so you won't be surprised on race day and can make a game plan. You need to know the wind speed and the direction it's blowing. Are you constantly checking your iPhone for updates? Do you get frustrated with all the ads on lame websites like weather.com, only to realize that the data really isn't good enough and it's not easy to see? Man, I get frustrated with those apps. I find that the weather on my iPhone is not as good as other sources. At my last race in West Virginia, it was raining in the morning, while the iPhone said, oh, there's only a 30% chance of rain. And the forecasts are different enough from different apps that I make different decisions about my outfit. So here are 3 weather apps that professionals have recommended to me and I like, and I just use the free versions. That's good enough for me. I've even changed my desktop bookmarks to these. The one I use most, the best app I learned about in Antarctica from the sailors on the ship, is called windy.com. That's windy.com. It was developed for outdoor water activities from the Czech Republic. For boaters, it's critical to have the best forecast because on the water, you could die if something goes wrong. Windy.com will tell you the wind speed and direction hourly. I really like their map and the arrows for the wind, and it's not crowded with ads and crap. It's a good one. So number 2, the other app. When I was hiking on Everest, where the weather changes rapidly, the guides used an app called yr.no. That's the letter Y and the letter R. N as in Norway, O as in Oslo. It's from the Norwegian Meteorological Institute. This app even shows videos from outdoor cameras in your area. For example, I live next to Afton Alp ski area, and the YR app will pull up the weather cams from the cameras on their ski hills. And lastly, the third app I'm going to recommend is NOAA.gov. My husband, who is retired from the Army Corps of Engineers and worked on flood protection and hurricanes, uses the data from NOAA.gov. That's NOAA.gov. It's the U.S. government National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And their data is used for other apps. They don't have their own app, but their data is used in other apps. So you can find one that's just for the weather or for the tides. Now you have at least 3 great sources of weather data. Try not to obsess even more. You want to check the weather, the temperature, and the wind speed and direction. Then you compare that with the course map. What direction is the race? Are we running into the sun? Is there wind, rain, or snow? Most runs start in the morning after sunrise. Sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. In North America, weather generally blows from the west toward the east because, the world is turning. And if you're running east, the sun will be in your eyes. If you're running west in the morning, you might be running into the wind. So when I was little, I thought that the trees made the wind. Well, turns out it's not the trees. It's the sun and the rotation of the earth. The sun heats up the oceans, which makes water evaporate and rise, which gets cold, then falls as rain, creating cold spots on the planet and areas of high and low pressure. Meanwhile, the world is turning and mixing up all the air. The equator is the widest part of the globe, so it's spinning the fastest, mixing up the weather. And the south, whereas at the north and south poles, it's turning the slowest. And that's always causing the wind to swirl and spin in circles all over the globe. It's the opposite in the southern hemisphere and the bottom of the globe. This is the Coriolis effect. This is the reason why hurricanes in the northern hemisphere rotate counterclockwise, but in the southern hemisphere, they rotate clockwise, and they call them typhoons down there. Learn about the Coriolis effect on National Geographic to see how the winds blow around the globe. It's pretty cool. I saw some neat demonstrations of this in Quito, Ecuador, which is the highest elevation on the equator, and they call it the middle of the world, the Mitad del Mundo, where the northern and southern hemispheres come together. And they showed us how the wind from Antarctica goes up the west side of South America, making Lima, Peru famous for parasailing, which sounds pretty fun, but I've never done it. On that trip, we hiked the short route up the Inca Trail to the Sun Gate, which is the back door of Machu Picchu. Just a day trip up and down, lots of steps through these beautiful valleys, and wow, man, those Incas must have been fit. Oh, and I suggest you read Turn Right at Machu Picchu by Mark Adams. It's totally worth it to help understand South America. And although we don't usually think about it, air is an actual thing. You don't feel it until it moves, and then it's wind. The chemist in me knows it's molecules of air. That's what's pushing the birds to stay in flight and sailboats around the ocean. I like to think about what it's made of, oxygen and nitrogen, bunch of other gases, and air is fluid like water, and it actually has weight. It weighs something. It's about 15 pounds per square inch. Well, technically it's 14.7 pounds per square inch, which is the standard measurement of 1 atmosphere of pressure. So one cool thing I read is that an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, a standard piece of paper in the US, has about 1,300 pounds of air sitting on top of it, which is then balanced by the air underneath it. And that seems like it weighs a lot, but by comparison, fluid water is 400 times heavier than air. It's so dense. So as I'm pondering this, looking around the air, the scientist in me looks at the sky and wonders, well, how come I can't see the air, yet the sky is blue and the clouds are white? Water's clear, but the ocean is blue. What's that all about anyway? Well, we can't see the air because the molecules are too small to reflect any light for our eyes to detect. But we can see the clouds because they contain bigger molecules of water vapor and ice crystals, which all reflect the light, like snow. So they're white. If they didn't reflect any light, they would be black. That'd be cool. So in the air, the small air molecules do reflect a small amount of blue light, which is why when we look up through miles and miles of the air above us, the sky appears blue and water is clear because visible light passes through it. So in small quantities, it's clear. But then when it's frozen as clouds and snow crystals, the light is reflected, so they appear white. Deeper water, like the ocean, looks blue for kind of 3 reasons. Number 1 is because the water reflects the blue light from the sky, so that's bouncing all over the place. Another reason is because water absorbs some colors. It absorbs the red, orange, and yellow color, but the blue light penetrates deeper into the water and becomes scattered for us to see. And the other reason is because there are other materials in the water that affect the color, like minerals and plankton, creating different shades of blue and green. Like Snapper Rocks Beach on the Gold Coast of Australia is pretty bright teal blue. I want to go there, check it out. Apparently it's good for surfing, which I've never done either. Another good thing to put on my bucket list. I think it's pretty cool stuff. This chemistry of water and air causing the currents and the winds. And that's the reason how international trade developed. Our economy is all based on the prevailing winds and ocean currents, the trade winds, and also how people migrated across the oceans. The native people of South America got on a boat and were pushed into the South Pacific to populate some of those islands, not the other way around. It just would have taken too much effort from the people in Asia to regularly sail to South America. Thor Heyerdahl demonstrated this on his adventure to Polynesia in the Kon-Tiki. He went from South America to Polynesia. And if you ever make it to Oslo, Norway, stop by his museum because it's pretty cool explaining how they did it. And did you know that some bugs from Africa actually migrate to South America on drafts of very high winds? These bugs are blown all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. And some birds in the Galapagos, it's an albatross, spend the first 5 years of their life just soaring around on the winds without touching the ground. They even sleep while they're flying. But then 5 years later, they grow up and they have to land and build a nest and make babies. So the next time you feel a breeze on your face, think about where that wind came from and what it carried with it. You might be breathing in the sand from the Sahara Desert or volcanic ash from Japan. So now that you've checked your weather and know the direction that the wind is blowing, and might know where it came from, take a look at the course map and compare them. Running east, the wind might be at your back. Going west, you might run into the wind. Going north, you might have a cold wind in your face. Going south, you might have a hot wind. Or it's all just a crapshoot anyway because the world's turning, water's evaporating and raining, and just wear a hat and sunglasses. But wind and add some rain, a hurricane, and a blizzard or snow, and that could be a whole other level of challenge. You got to watch for those things. Like the New York City Marathon was canceled in November of 2012 due to Hurricane Sandy. Now that was windy. How random. A hurricane in New York, USA in November? Crazy. I've run many times in the snow, and I want to know if that blizzard is going to be in my face, which happened at the Trailbreaker Marathon in Kenosha, Wisconsin, which was around April 1st. That's late in the season, and it was predicted to snow. And as we were waiting in the community center at the start line, I was studying the race course more and the wind map. And sure enough, we were going to be running northwest, face first into the blizzard. And I told the other runners that they should at least wear a baseball cap to keep the snow out of their eyes. So I put on my ski goggles and a face mask because I knew it was going to be pretty cold, which were perfect. And some of the other people were kind of laughing at me because I look so funny, which I do look ridiculous. There's no skin showing. And I've run in this in Minnesota winter before, and it's pretty comfortable. So when we started running, I was pretty happy. And then they understood. I could just tell they were freezing. Their faces were cold. I'm running uncomfortable, and they're like, oh yeah, the wind and snow is in our face. This kind of sucks. And when it's windy, I'll put on a thin pair of wind-resistant pants, ideally that are breathable. If they're not breathable, your crotch will start to sweat. And that's always uncomfortable and leads to chafing. And if you feel yourself getting sweaty down there, that's when you should take off your wind pants. And even if your pants start to get wet, they're still helpful to block the wind, especially below 40 degrees. I run okay in soggy pants and jackets. Even the thinnest, cheapest rain poncho that blocks the wind on a cold, rainy, or snowy day makes a big, big difference. And those little ponchos are easy to carry. They're small enough that I can tuck a cheap poncho into my shorts or a waist belt if the weather is going to be bad later. And then if the wind or rain clears up, I'll gradually take off my layers, like the poncho, to let the sweat evaporate, which initially feels cold, so I'll carry it for a little while just in case the weather changes again. But once I warm up and don't think I need it anymore, I'll usually give it to a volunteer because they've just been standing around and are usually freezing. I find that I'm generally fine in shorts and a t-shirt at 50 degrees Fahrenheit and above with a light wind and misty rain, as long as I keep moving. If it gets windier, wetter, or colder, I need a long sleeve top or a wind resistant jacket. For my next layer, I'll add a light windbreaker pants over my shorts. And then there's the wind chill. Man, when the temps are below freezing, a little bit of wind from a breeze, or even from running itself, adds to the wind chill factor. Even if it's not snowing, it makes it way colder. And for the Groundhog Day marathon in Grand Rapids, Michigan, I again wear my goggles and face mask because it was -5 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit at the start. The morning frost had crystallized on all the tree branches, making them look like really beautiful white abstract sculptures everywhere. It was so cold, but I was comfortable. Keeping your head and face warm really makes a difference in colder weather. I wore a long sleeve top as a base layer, under a hoodie and a jacket over that, and I had long, warm tights and wind pants. I put those charcoal hand warmer things in my mittens, and that day I even put toe warmers on the top of my feet inside my shoes, and I had cleats for the snow. I like to wear a scuba hoodie. Mine is from Saucony, which blocks the wind really well. It covers my whole face, surrounds my face like Kenny from South Park, and it's not as constricting around your neck. I've run as low as -10 degrees Fahrenheit with other warmer layers, but the cold air feels pretty weird on my lungs, so I avoid it or only go for a short time. So for Tracy running in Antarctica, or anyone running where it would be around 25 to 35 Fahrenheit and windy, I suggest a hoodie with a vest or a wind jacket on top. If it's colder, add a face mask or another base layer. Wear some long warm tights with wind pants over them. Take off the wind top or pants if it gets warmer. Bring some hand and toe warmers in case it gets really cold. You can even cut up an old pair of socks to make leg warmers for your ankles. Then just push them down or cut them off at an aid station if you get too warm. And I always wear a hat with a brim and some kind of glasses. And I always wear sunscreen too, especially on windy or cold days. I still wear it. And I also smear on an extra layer of Dermatone. It's like Vaseline, and it comes in a stick, like a big tube of chapstick. And it also comes in a little tin you can carry. It's nice and gooey to protect my skin. I just don't like the wind in my face, which is funny because I drive a convertible and I love my car. I've always wanted one since high school when my boyfriend had one, this red Mustang, and it was so nice to enjoy the summer. And then my dad got a car with T-tops. Man, it was a 1980-something Buick Regal, and it was the best. I'm now in my 4th convertible. I had a Pontiac Sunbird, a Saab 900, a Toyota Celera. And now that I worked 30 years, I finally got my dream car. It's a little BMW 430 convertible, which is teal blue. And BMW calls it Snapper Rocks Blue, which is really kind of teal, after that beach in Australia, which is why I really want to go there. And of course, to run the Sydney Marathon, the newest world major. Someday I'll make it there. If it's sunny out, even if it's cold outside, I'll still put the top down on the car. I'll just wear a hat, turn up the heat, and roll up the windows to minimize the wind. It's pretty fun. I get a lot of strange looks driving that way, but that's okay. Well, I'd like to dedicate this little tip to the Garmin Land of Oz Marathon in Olathe, Kansas. It was the windiest marathon I've ever run in, with gusts well over 50 miles an hour. And the year I ran it, April of 2022, it was so windy that even semi-trucks were being blown over in Nebraska. On that trip, we were driving home from Colorado. We were driving our camper across the Great Plains from Denver to Kansas City, and it was so windy that it was just blowing the camper around the freeway. I was constantly overcorrecting with the steering wheel, making small little jerky movements, which actually shut down the cruise control and the safety features of the car because the steering computer did not know how to deal with that kind of driving in the wind. Fortunately, it did reset every time we stopped, so I knew it wasn't broken. It was working the way it was supposed to. But we could not delay much because we had to stay ahead of these crazy winds. It wasn't a storm, just really, really windy. But it was really crazy that I had to run the marathon in those gusts. There were branches and dust blowing all around. I was a little nervous that I would get hit from some flying debris even. I wore a hat with a brim and it just flopped everywhere. So I took some safety pins to pin the brim down to the string and tie that around my chin so that it was more helpful to protect my face. I looked like I was wearing one of those little old bonnets from Little House on the Prairie that wraps around your whole face. Oh, and it was great. It was the best. Very comfortable. After that race in the aptly named Land of Oz, I always bring my clear safety glasses and wear them if I don't need sunglasses instead, because I don't want to get dust and stuff in my eyes. Plus, it does make a difference, keeping the wind out of my face. Then after the race, we were driving back home, heading north to Minnesota through Iowa. And now, a day later, the winds were ahead of us, and they were blowing over semis on the north side of Des Moines. It was a scary ride all the way home to Minnesota, but we made it. But worst of all, after all that crazy driving and then running in the windy marathon, everyone got disqualified. All the runners got a DNF because they mismeasured the course and it was wrong. They put a cone in the wrong spot by 0.1 miles, so everyone turned around too early. It was just 0.2 miles short. And this was early on in the race, like mile 7 or so, and we all noticed it as we were running and just hoped the miles would balance later. But sadly, they did not. And I'm sure I ran at least an extra 0.2 miles just going to the bathroom and stuff. Jeez. And more ironic is that marathon was sponsored by Garmin. Garmin watches, and it started and finished at the Garmin headquarters. It was kind of awesome being there. But then, it was so lame. Garmin blamed the city for not measuring the course right. But geez Louise, they got to do some quality control. So aggravating since the race was named after them and they sponsored it. But I still love my Garmin watch anyway, and I'm practicing forgiveness. And I am a little satisfied that race is now on the naughty list. Yes, there is a naughty list of marathons that don't qualify as a marathon because they had a problem. Like the course was too short, or they didn't have enough finishers, or some other weird reason. And this naughty list is maintained by the 50 States Marathon Club. It's part of their rules. So you can find it at the 50statesmarathonclub.com/rules. And then so that I could qualify for my 50 states, I had to go back to Kansas and run a different marathon in October. I ran the Rails to Trails, and that was really nice and beautiful. Fortunately, it was not windy, and that race is on the nice list. But for me personally, I still count the Land of Oz as a marathon. I was out there doing it. That was a lot of work. So back to the original question. Does the wind make that much of a difference? And should it concern you? Yes. You now know that yes, the wind will make a difference on race day. It may negatively impact your race if it's a headwind blowing at you in your face, and you should consider that as part of your game plan. So now you can stop merely obsessing about the weather and take action. And if it's going to blow hard, you know what to do. Instead of checking lame weather apps, you now have 3 good ones to consult. They are windy.com, yr.no, and noaa.gov. Check the forecast for the wind. If it's over 8 or 10 miles an hour or gusty, take a closer look. Compare it with the course map. Look for places where the wind will be blowing in your face and potentially cause a problem. Plan your outfit and supplies. Do you need glasses, a visor, a hat, face cream, a hoodie, a poncho, wind pants? Should you carry more water? Anything else that will help you maintain your form? Now you have a game plan for windy weather, and you won't be surprised if running is less than ideal on that day. But execute your plan and learn what worked and what didn't so you can make adjustments for the next time you run in the wind. That's info you can use to be confident and stay on top of your game. Just acknowledge the wind and let it blow and do your thing. Now I got a question for you. Have you run in extreme wind? And how did you manage? So thanks for listening to this little tip, and I hope some of these ideas helped you. Please leave a comment or let me know if you have a question. And also, please donate to my charity for medical research at unstoppablestoriesthatmove.com. Together we can save lives. Now it's more urgent than ever because NIH budgets are getting cut and we have to do something about it. So please help out. I'm Sally Head-Dahlquist, host of the podcast Unstoppable Stories That Move. Keep moving forward, even if the wind is in your face and tries to slow you down.